Hello, hello, beautiful people. We are going to have some fun today, so glad you are joining me. We're going to play with printables. Yep. So instead of using my normal kind of Studio Calico cards, I had some fun online and found some really great printable cards, and we're going to see how that goes. So first off, before we do anything else, I need to get my photographs down and try to make at least a first go at the arrangement, and then go from there. So what do we have? I discovered at lilypad.com Just Jamie. OMG, amazing. Love this pocket card set that she has created. A fun, vibrant card set. I downloaded the set. It includes the 3x4s and also 4x6s, all for $2.99. I just printed out the 3x4 cards for this particular layout. And in addition, I also printed out some more of my Studio Calico cards that I'm going to use. And we're going to use some of Just Jamie's labels. And I really like how inventive and creative her shapes are, with the triangles and the other shapes as well. And we are going to use Caitlin Schaefer's labels, and you can find those at CaitlinSchaefer.com. They were free, I believe, and I like the fun shapes and kind of different color palette than the Studio Calico that I currently use. So if you have not tried Caitlin Schaefer or anything of any of the printables at lilypad.com, just go check them out. I was really pleasantly surprised, and I would love for you to, hit me back and let me know what you think. So now that I've cut everything out, it really only took me a few minutes. I'm ready to get started. So first up, just to kind of lay my cards out and see how I am liking what I've got so far. Just an early kind of placement here. Some of these labels that Just Jamie has created, they're different enough from what I've used in the past, and I really like challenging myself, particularly with those triangles. In addition to the labels and her pocket cards, I also downloaded some of her flares, and basically they're just the little circles. So that Love You and that Today, those are the Just Jamie flares, and I think they were about 6 or 8 in the set that I purchased. It was like $1.99. So really nice, and that's not something that'll suck up a bunch of ink. Okay, so first up, I'm going to do what I traditionally do, which is to take my photos, trim them down just a bit, and to place them on my white Becky Higgins cards. This little hand is just absolutely adorable. So cute, and just calling my name to be cut up. So doing a little bit of cutting here to cut the hand out, and then I will actually adhere it in a little bit. So this week, week 22, the great, beautiful, wonderful, most intelligent and dynamic Maya Angelou passed away to the other side. And I don't always include current events in my layouts, but her poetry and energy really impacted me in undergrad. And so I wanted to journal about that in this particular week. And so I've included an image of her and a short poem from my most favorite poem from her, which is Phenomenal Woman. So now that I've got that down, I'm starting to fiddle a bit with my cards. One of the other things that I do quite often is take photographs of my boys from behind. There's something kind of sweet and sentimental when I'm able to get a shot of them walking in front of me, or sitting in front of me, or talking to each other. I don't know, there's almost like I'm kind of in their secret little space and able to capture that moment. And so with these two photos, they're literally taken seconds apart, but I kind of like the motion and the energy and the sweetness, and they were having their little private conversation as I was taking the photograph. All right, this photo of my son, It's a very typical daily photograph. He's online playing a video game. And in fact, this may have been taken the week before, but with so many of our daily activities, if I can't fit it in week 21, then I'll use it in week 22 or use it in week 23 because it is absolutely representative of just kind of the kind of daily activities within our household. So that's something to keep in mind. I know sometimes people are worried, well, I didn't actually take that photo, on such and such date. But if that's the kind of photo that you would take on a different date, then I think it's perfectly fine to use it. So I don't have really any hard and fast rules in terms of a photo must be incorporated in a particular week. I'm flexible. So this particular photograph, it's actually a homework photograph, but we're nearing the end of the year and my son was still trying to nail down a few more of those multiplication fast facts, and he does not enjoy that task. And so although I've got many kind of homework photographs throughout the school year, I wanted to journal about him struggling a bit with the multiplication facts. And so that's what I will include there. I did step away from the camera and went to journal with my computer and print on the white cards. And so when I came back, all of my journaling is done. I do not use my typewriter this week. A lot of times I will use my computer and printer to journal when I know I have a lot of journaling that I need to squeeze into a week and I can't get everything in with my typewriter. Just Jamie's cards are really so fun and vibrant, and they really kind of have a paint watercolor thing about them. And so I had not intended to play with my gelatos. I've played with them for the last few weeks on my spreads, but I couldn't help myself. Literally, they were calling my name given the look of Just Jamie's cards. So I pull out my gelatos and I'm using water rather than going for the dry brush look. And then I use the tape so I can create a nice hard line between the paint and the white of the card. Gonna let that dry, and while that's drying and I already have the gelatos out, I decide to play a little bit more, maybe experiment and see if I can create a 4x6 card that will fit nicely with the Just Jamie 3x4 cards. So a little bit of water, and I don't bother to get up and change the water. I have a little white there, and that's fine with me. Add a little bit more blue, and then I'm going to put that card aside and let it dry. So while the other card is dry, this one's ready for me to work with. So I thought maybe a blue journaling card. No, thought a green journaling card might work, but that green against the red looks way too Christmassy, and so throw that to the side. This journaling card by Just Jamie that's orange, love it, and so put that down, tuck the journaling down, and then the little cutout frame, perfect. And this 3x4 card is almost done. By cutting out the hand, I'm able to include it on this 3x4 card with the journaling, and then I decide to create a little bit of hand-drawn border with my black pen. And a pop dot under that hand, and really love the look. I centered the journaling on that 3x4 card, and I centered the hand as well, and so I think that came out nicely, and the black pen border works well. With this card, I think I was just playing around with different techniques in terms of where to journal my cards. I pushed all my journaling to the right, and so that allowed me to include a little bit of pattern paper, the Just Jamie card on the left. Kind of a 50-50 split, which I haven't tried before, but it's a different look. And I'm just in the mood to experiment and stretch myself a little bit. So adding that little quirky journaling about my son working on his math facts. Cleaning up my chaos before I move on. I can be quite messy. All right, so I'm going to cut down this card and then place it on a white card. I didn't have to do that. I could have used it just as it was printed out. But by doing that, it allows me to create another hand-drawn border with my pen. And in the end, that gives me some balance on the left and the right side of my spread. So I've got the hand-drawn border on the left and the hand-drawn border on the right. And since I had my marker in my hand, I decided to kind of do a little thingadoogie around the little gelato circles bubbles. And so rather than use that as a 4x6 card, I decide to use the gelato bubbles as embellishments. So that's, something to keep in mind in terms of just in general on your project life spreads, but also in terms of how you might use the gelatos. You can use them to create your own embellishments. Now I'm playing around a bit, not sure where I want to go next. This particular photograph of my son carrying some basil for the garden, I thought I wanted to use, and that card I'm placing it on, I'd actually made a couple weeks before, and it was in my kind of experimental stash. And I never throw that stuff away. I keep it because I never know when it might, be useful. And it'll sit there for a while, but in the end, I don't like it. I think it was too much blue, and this particular spread really has a yellow, red, orange kind of thing going on. And so those blue dots were working against the other dots. But I haven't figured that out yet at this point. So I'm not sure what to do with that card on the bottom right-hand corner. I have this photograph of me picking my husband up at the airport, but I have to cut it down really small to try to make it fit. And I'm not ready to commit. So what I usually do is leave it alone. If I'm not ready to commit, then I walk away for a moment. Now I'm coming back to it, and I've decided that what I want to do is place some of these little bubbles on this layout or this card as well. So I like that. I like that because, again, it gives me that symmetry, that balance between the left and the right side of my spread. Bubbles on the left, bubbles on the right. So moving around, taking this class photo, adhering that to the white card, trying to see how I'm going to finish that off. Decide to go to my little Cricut stash of words and phrases, pulling a few out that I think might work well this week. And initially what I think I want to do is just kind of write over the our week phrase. Try that out, don't like that so much. So then I grab my black marker and I just decide to cover the whole thing with the black marker. And surprise, surprise, I've never tried this before. I really, really like the overall effect of that. But I'm going to just let that be for a moment. And I'm inspired to pull out my Gelatos again and create a hand-drawn word, home. So initially I played with two different yellow gelatos, but it has a very strong watercolor kind of look, and I wanted a little bit more kind of texture, and so I pull out my white acrylic paint and kind of go over it with that. I like that much better, but what happens is that my M really gets kind of smushed, and so it looks imperfect. We'll use that word. And I could have done it again, but I decided to lean in, to embrace the imperfection and go with it. So my hour week is dry, but the top of that card has a lot of white space, and so I'm not feeling it at all. So I'm not ready to commit. So when I'm not ready to commit, I walk away, go do something else. I create some more of my little cutout bubbles. And this word home needed something else. So I used my black pen to kind of trace around it. And again, that M is very wonky, but I'm just going to imagine that that's exactly what I wanted and go with it. All right. So I'm feeling good about that. This yellow bubble is perfect. Just a little touch of color at the top of that card that I needed. And put just a touch of red right there at the bottom to have the eye kind of move all around the card. And then staple my hour week. And that card is done. So this bottom card, and I'm sorry you can't see it very well, kind of got cut off. I adhere my homemade home, and then I think the phrase is get home soon or something like that, and I've just pulled out my black thickers for that. And so while they're out, I also use them for this top photograph with the bike. I think I stopped. I put get down, and then I wasn't sure if I wanted to say biking or riding, or maybe I was missing a thicker letter. So I take a break for a moment, and then I go to this particular card. So by this point, I've removed the card with my son carrying the basil, and I've added this photograph of my son who's on a date with me. Love, love, love mommy-son dates. And so that little orange yellow circle that says joy, that's one of the Just Jamie flares. So is that other little card with the butterfly or circle with the butterfly. But I decided to go with the joy flare. And then trying to figure out what I want to add to that. My go-to, my Tim Holtz typewriter letters. And I think I add our date right there. And then I make up my mind, and it's get riding. Sometimes I have to make my little guy go outside and play. So on this particular day, he was out riding bikes with his friends, and I couldn't capture them actually bike riding, so I just took a picture of the bike. So in this case, rather than use the card, I'm cutting out the little hearts that were on the card and decide to attach them right there. So again, kind of creating my own embellishments out of the pocket cards in addition to using them as intended as cards. So that's something to keep in mind, kind of going double duty. All right. I don't use my stamps a lot, although I have far too many. But I just got these in with my Studio Calico June kit. And I really like the memorable phrase or word. And so I'm using that right on the side of my Maya Angelou card here. And I also use my Studio Calico, not Studio Calico, Becky Higgins date stamp as well. Thought about using those, decide not to. We're good. So just kind of taking a step back, taking in where the layout is at this point, and decide that I want a few more kind of words. And so I used my black marker again to color in one of my cutouts, and I mix the black and the white words. So I end up with you together. And I kind of like the balance between the black and white words. I think it fits well with the black and white that's represented throughout the entire spread. Let's see, a little, what are those things? A little, I don't know, flag from, I think, last month's Studio Calico kit. And I was almost done and literally realized, oh my gosh, I haven't used really any wood veneer. So pulled out my wood veneer and decided to add them really at the last minute to this spread. I probably could have just opted not to, but I do like kind of that that little touch, that kind of final cherry on top touch that the wood veneer offers. So I'm adding some little speech bubbles. I added a heart, some a little lady and a little dude right there on the date card, and some little arrows as well. And a few arrows on this black and white photograph. And my friends, voila, I think I'm done. I really like this page. I stretched myself to do something different. If you haven't tried working with just printables, give it a whirl and see what you think. I hope this week's video was helpful. I enjoyed playing, and I love that you decide to stop by and spend a few minutes with me. So this is fun. It's almost like a virtual crop. So again, thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Hugs to you. Lots and lots of hugs. And until later, toodaloos, toodaloos.